So step one is the rice. This is a rice, I call it a salad. It's also a side dish, so you can call it whatever you want. And as you'll notice, I put a little water in the bottom of the pan. Whenever I'm preheating a pot or a pan, I just put a little water in the bottom so I'll know when it's nice and hot. So step one of this recipe is to cook your rice, which I already did right here. So I'm just going to set this aside until I'm ready for it a little bit later, and I will show you the rice that I used. Let me go ahead and get these veggies in the pot, in the pan, and then I'll talk about the rice. So we're going to put in 2.5 cups of shiitake mushrooms and about 2 cups of asparagus. So let me go ahead and get these in here, and then I'll talk about it a little bit more. And you can see the asparagus is cut into little, like 1 inch or so bite-sized pieces. And then the shiitakes are sliced kind of on the thick side because mushrooms do tend to shrivel up a lot when they're cooked. So I like to start out with them, you know, kind of on the thick side there. All right, so we're just sauteing these. Sauteing just means cooking on high heat while stirring. And the whole point of this is to get the most flavor as we can out of the veggies, basically by cooking out that water in the mushrooms and the asparagus. Not totally, but when you remove a lot of the water, you're left with more flavor. And if you've never cooked with shiitake mushrooms, this is one that I haven't cut yet. And they're really good. They're a little on the pricey side, so I don't use them all the time. Mostly I use the brown cremini mushrooms. But these are kind of special, kind of like they're extra spongy. They just have a really great texture and a great flavor. So we're just sauteing, and feel free to add a little bit of water if you think it's gonna burn or get too dry, or this is gonna be a salad kind of, so we don't want that asparagus totally overcooked. We want it a little bit firm, but you know, edible and cooked. And what I did with my asparagus is I trimmed the woody end off, so it's not so hard. And then I'm just left with these more tender pieces. And then I was just going to show you, not that it's very exciting. The stems are edible. Sometimes if the ends look a little questionable, I will just cut off the very end, but I do eat the stems. So we'll throw those in there. If you can't find shiitakes, you can just use cremini or white mushrooms as well. But there's something about shiitakes and asparagus. It just goes together so well. And if you are a mushroom person who knows about different types of mushrooms and you want to use a mushroom that I haven't even mentioned, go right on ahead and do that. One that's safe and edible. Or you can do a variety of mushrooms. And while that is getting going, we're going to get our tarragon ready because we're going to be adding that in a little bit. This is tarragon. And what you want, I didn't chop it yet because I wanted to show you what it looked like whole. But what you want to do is you don't want a bunch of stems, so just pick off the long leaves. Tarragon is kind of an underused fresh herb, but it's delicious. It's kind of like licorice-y, and if you don't like black licorice, don't let that turn you off. It's like anise. It's just it's got such an interesting, like, exotic smell and flavor to it. If you couldn't find tarragon, you could use something else like basil, parsley, or what else? Fresh oregano, maybe. And you want that asparagus to retain its nice bright green color. And you can sample one if you're not sure if it's done enough. And by the way, this is my Ozeri nonstick pan. It is on my website store at straightupfood.com. It's great to have at least one nonstick pan, a fry pan like this. I think this is an 11 inch, might be a 12 inch. especially to do things like pancakes and veggie burgers and hash browns and stuff that traditionally needs oil in the bottom. All right, and normally people would use oil to saute their veggies, but it's absolutely unnecessary. Water works just fine, or if you make your own vegetable stock, you can use that as well. All right, so once you get your tarragon in a pile, just kind of go across. We don't want those whole leaves, we want it kind of coarsely chopped. So just go, I'll show you. So kind of like that size. So this is a 1/4 cup pecans that I'm just gonna chop up. And to me, pecans are really holiday dishy. So that's why I'm using pecans. If you only had walnuts or some other kind of nut, you could use that. And if you're not doing nuts, you can leave it out entirely. But this dish has wonderful textures. So you have the crunchy of the nut, you have the kind of squishy of the mushrooms, and then the firmness of the rice. It's just really nice. If any of you have tried my tuna salad, you know how it's just got that magical combo? It's like this X factor. It's just so good. It's probably my most popular recipe, my tuna salad without tuna. So look that one up if you haven't tried it. But this salad kind of reminds me of that. It's just so good. I made this last week just to test it out because I haven't made it in a while. And I ate half of the whole recipe in one sitting because it was so good. Okay, so you want to chop these, well, it's up to you, but I like to chop them, but not too small. So kind of like that. You still want. So this is the knife that I use most often. It's called a MAC, M-A-C. It is on my website store if you're curious. I think it's about I forgot. I think it's around $100, maybe a little more. So this is my everyday knife. I just love it. I love the size. And then I also have a full 8-inch chef's knife that is a little longer. And I like this around for chopping onions or butternut squash, just big stuff, cauliflower, cabbage. But this is kind of more my everyday knife. My everyday knife used to just be like a little utility knife like this, but I like this much better. Okay, so let's put this salad together. So got my bowl of rice, and did I show you? I don't think I did, the kind of rice that I used. I use this organic brown long grain Lundberg rice. You don't have to use this brand, but that's what I am using. So we're just gonna add the cooked asparagus and mushrooms, and I'll move the bowl over there so you can see it better here in a sec. In with the rice. So now we're just assembling this, the rice, the mushrooms, the asparagus. We're going to put in 2 cups of green peas. I'm just using frozen, thawed green peas here, organic. You can use canned if you want. Just make sure there's no salt and sugar added if you're avoiding those. This is 3 large green onions that I've chopped up. If you didn't have green onions, I think red onion would be nice too. We're going to put in our pecans, yummy, and our tarragon. Now the last thing we have to do is make the dressing. So I'm going to move this aside. I'm going to bring over my little blender here. This is called a TriBest Personal blender right there. This is on my website. This is my favorite little blender. I also have a big Vitamix that I use, but this one is just great. It has these little cups, and then it also comes with taller cups. And then the blade is just right there on the lid. And this is a very easy dressing, just 3 ingredients. So the first thing we're going to put in is a clove of garlic, just 1 clove of garlic, and I just want to show you how to get this little annoying paper off. This is called a silicone garlic sleeve, and what you do is you just put it in there and then you roll it, and you kind of listen for it to kind of crack and break the seal, and there you go, the paper's off. Now sometimes it will have a little blemish in there, so just cut that off. All right, so we're going to add this 1 clove into our little blender thing here. And how much did I say? 1/4 cup of lemon juice. So I didn't juice this yet, so I thought I would just show you. This is one type of juicer here, so you want to put it in with the flat side down, And these also come in green and orange for limes and oranges as well. Oh, it's a good arm workout. Ugh. And it kind of turns it inside out, like that. This is my 1/4 cup measuring. Pretty close. I'm going to call that a 1/4 cup. We'll put that in there. And then the last thing is a little bit of mustard. 1 tablespoon of mustard. These are one of my favorite kitchen items, the magnetic measuring spoons. So check those out. I love them because they stick together, and they also have 2 ends. So if you cook a lot and one end is already dirty, you don't have to wash it again because you have a clean end. So with the mustard, I'm using the Westbury Natural Stone Ground Mustard, no salt added. And this is a new one, so let me give it a shake because it's probably separated a little bit. And then whenever I put something gooey on a measuring spoon, I always dip it in the water. You could dip it in the lemon juice first, just so it slides off a little easier. Whoop. Okay. And then your measuring spoon stays clean. Or rather, even more important, you don't lose a lot of mustard in your measuring spoon. This is so low tech. You just line up this with this and push down. And come to think of it, if you don't have a small blender like this, you could still make it. Just put the ingredients in a little cup or a little bowl and chop that garlic finely first, and then just mix it with a fork. You probably can't do this in a big blender because there's just not enough volume there. So if you don't have a little blender, consider getting one. I love mine for just quick little things when I don't want to break out the big blender. I use it to grind my flax seeds. It's just really great. Okay. TriBest Personal Blender. And I know a lot of you already have different brands of little blenders. That's fine. Keep using them. If they ever break, try a TriBest. They are wonderful. So we're just about done here. Dressing is kind of a nice, kind of spicy yellow looking dressing. Pour that over everything. This is a pre-dressed salad, so we want to put the dressing on before we serve it. And then just mix it up. So I will go ahead and plate this just for fun, for the final pretty step. Okay. And this can be eaten warm, it can be eaten cold, doesn't really matter. Okay. It's very filling because of the rice. There we go. Isn't that pretty?